Welcome everyone to this webinar on processing UAV data with POSPac. We're going to be talking about platforms, modules, and options. The presentation is mainly around what's available in terms of different POSPac options and the licensing that is associated with that. This is our fifth webinar in our series on turning your UAV into a professional mapping solution. My name is Brad Schmidt. I'm the Global UAV Sales Manager here at Applanix. I'm joined by River Kim, who's from our Customer Support Department. She's a Product Support Analyst, and will be helping me out today with the questions section of this webinar. So let me just go through a few logistics before we get into the presentation. The presentation will be today about 20 minutes, about 25 minutes, maybe a little bit longer than I have on the screen there. And we'll try to include some questions at the end, so maybe about 10 minutes worth of questions if there is any questions. Just on the topic of questions, please enter any questions you may have in the questions box. Basically, River will be monitoring those questions and we'll take them at the end of the presentation. We will be making the recording available. Please note that everyone is on mute, so your interface for connecting with us is through that questions box. So without further ado, let's take a look at our agenda for today. So we're going to be talking about POSPac. So we'll look at what POSPac is. We'll look at what POSPac platforms are available, what add-on modules are available for POSPac, how it all works, and what are my options to purchase if I decide to go ahead and move forward with POSPac. And then we'll do a little wrap up at the end that includes those questions. Okay, so let's start. What is POSPac? Well, POSPac is our next generation of industry-leading software for direct georeferencing, as it says there. It is the post-processing engine that we use to take the GNSS and inertial data along with any correction data and process that in order to create output files that can then be used to generate information products from UAVs. So we're going to get into this a little bit more. We're going to be discussing all the different options that are available with POSPac, and you'll start to understand more about the product once we go through that. But first of all, I just wanted to say what industries that POSPac supports. So it actually supports all of our industries, airborne, land, and marine. And I'll be taking a look at how we actually do that in just a minute. So we do have POSPac for these different industries, as well as for our airborne and our manned or and unmanned or crewed and uncrewed UAV vehicles and uncrewed airborne vehicles. POSPac is available in a number of different options. So we're going to go through these and I'll basically go through each of them in further detail, but I just want to introduce the range of POSPac options that I'm going to be talking about this morning. So POSPac MMS has been around for a long time. It's our mobile mapping solution for, as I mentioned before, airborne, land, and marine. It is a very robust and powerful product. It has been around for quite a number of years and emanated out of our airborne industry in the beginning. So Applanix was formed back in 1991, so it's been around a long time in terms of being able to process the data. And of course, we've improved it and enhanced it all these years. So it's a very, very robust solution. So we have a number of versions of that. POSPac UAV, which we're going to be talking about a fair bit today, is our UAV version of POSPac MMS. It's essentially a subset of what is available in MMS, but just for the UAV industry. We also have our POSPac UAV cloud solution. This is for our OEM partners in particular, where they can basically deploy a cloud solution via an API that we provide to our OEM partners. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Our POSPac MMS and UAV command line versions. So these are available. In fact, the command line version is available with all of our products, all of our POSPac products. And so that is also embedded in there. And something fairly new, Applanix PPK. So this is again, another version of POSPac, but this time it's just focused on GNSS processing, PPK processing. We'll talk a little bit about that. So let's start with what is POSPac MMS? So it's our GNSS inertial solution for direct georeferencing. So it works with all kinds of different sensors, such as cameras, multispectral scanners, LiDARs, etc. And it basically supports a number of different processing modes for correction service. So the GNSS data itself will get you to about a meter level, but by adding the inertial data and the correction solution, we can bring that down to survey grade accuracy. So a couple of centimeters in the horizontal, maybe about 3 to 5 centimeters in the vertical. So it gets us into that survey grade. POSPac MMS is available with single base processing, so a single base station for processing the data. Smart Base is another correction solution. It basically uses CORS networks. And Trimble's own PPRTX, post-processing RTX solution, is a global correction solution. We'll be talking a little bit more about that. And it also supports multi-single base using the Trimble GNSS technology. So just some of the features and benefits of POSPac MMS. So it allows you to reduce costs by reducing or even eliminating the need for ground control points, faster production, because basically what you can do with POSPac is because it's all mathematical. We have orientation data, positioning data, correction data. That's all mathematical. Since we have all of these measurements, we can actually process the data very, very quickly after we validate the results before we start that processing. Better accuracy, we support forward and reverse processing of the trajectory data. So this helps to kind of smooth and optimize that data. And as I mentioned before, something that's quite important is support for the Trimble Centerport RTX solution, which is not the only correction solution we support, but is a very good one because it basically eliminates the need for collecting ground control points or setting up a physical base station. POSPac UAV, as I mentioned, is a subset of POSPac MMS. It basically is required for direct georeferencing, and it supports a number of different correction solutions. So it supports single base, it supports Applanix Smart Base, as well as the PPRTX we've been talking about. I just want to mention that if you're interested in learning more about these correction solutions or augmentation solutions, we have a really good webinar on this. This was our webinar number 2 in this particular series of turning your UAV into a professional mapping solution. And it's available in our webinar center. If you go to applanix.com, you'll find our webinar center there. And you can actually access this particular presentation, and it'll go through all the different augmentations that we offer and how they work. So some of the features of POSPac UAV, certainly it allows us to get to centimeter level process data. It removes the need for ground control point, and it helps us to achieve centimeter level accuracy in LiDAR data. We basically assign each of those LiDAR data points with a position and orientation value. So it's perhaps the best way to achieve high accuracy and accurate LiDAR position data. High accuracy orientation strengthens the geometry of our AT blocks, which reduces or eliminates the need for side lap, or, well, not entire side lap, but certainly reduces the side lap, so we can move from maybe 80% side lap to 40% side lap. Speeds up processing like POSPac MMS. It's a 200 gigahertz georeferencing solution, so that helps us to filter out bad GNS observables. It helps us to improve heading accuracy and reduces interpolation errors. And automatically survey and dedicated base station data with the RTX solution. So if you decide not to deploy a physical base station, you can use one of our virtual reference solutions such as Smart Base or the fairly unique Trimble Centerpoint RTX solution, which is a global network of receiving stations that are continuously on receiving GNSS data. Okay, and also for output from POSPac UAV or our other products, we basically can output to an information generating product, something called UAS Master. This basically helps us to build our information products, whether that's orthos or digital train models or a variety of different representations of the data that may be required by customers. It also supports or provides input directly into something called eCognition, which is our rules-based feature extraction software. It's a Trimble product, And that all allows us to actually analyze, evaluate, and extract information out of the imagery. So we've got that kind of complete processing workflow that is available. POSPac UAV Cloud. So this is really directed towards our OEM partners. So our OEM partners are typically those who are UAV manufacturers, sensor manufacturers, or systems integrators. It's an API that we provide that allows those OEM partners to basically set up their own infrastructure for processing the data collected by the systems that they are providing to the user base in the market. Works on a pay-per-use basis, so you basically just pay for what you use, and very, very good solution for working in the cloud. Some of the features and benefits of POSPac UAV Cloud. It provides, or we provide well, first of all, we provide the APIs, as I mentioned, and credentials to access the cloud, but it has the ability to track usage, to create and manage users' accounts, etc. It is an alternative to the perpetual licensing that we offer through POSPac UAV. Some may wish to use a perpetual license, but if you choose to use the cloud solution, which is always on, always up to date, then it's an option for you. So the POSPac UAV command line, as I mentioned, is available with all of our POSPac clouds. It's certainly useful for managing the POSPac UAV cloud implementation. And basically it's available with our, in support of and available with our POSPac UAV cloud solution. So it supplies first level support to our OEMs, to our OEM partners. It allows for full processing of our APX boards or our non-DAGAS boards. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. DAGAS is basically direct georeferencing as a solution or as a system here. So what we're going to do here is we'll talk about this in just a moment. And so basically the terms of usage are available in the licensing agreements with POSPac for the command line, and the cloud processing is available to our OEMs and partners, as I've mentioned before. If you want to learn more about the direct georeferencing as a solution, we have a really great webinar on this. This was actually our webinar number 3 in our series, and I certainly encourage you to take a look at that if you're interested in taking a look at how you can consume direct georeferencing as a service. And this is something that we provide to our OEM partners, which allows them to essentially lease or rent, if you will, their solutions, complete solutions, whether it's sensor packages or a complete UAV solution, to the UAV community out there. So kind of an interesting webinar on this, something that we've introduced in the last couple of years, and is starting to catch on in the industry as it as organizations are looking to kind of test out technology. And what better way to do that than to subscribe it for a period of time, test it out, try it, and if it works for your needs and requirements, then you can purchase it. What is Applanix PPK? So this is something that we've set up for just GNSS processing only. It's basically designed to take that GNSS trajectory data and refine that. It's really geared towards processing DJI Phantom 4 data and other UAV payloads that just use GNSS, i.e. typically known as PPK processing in the industry. So we have positioned this in the cloud. It is accessible. If you actually Google Applanix PPK, it'll take you to a separate website for the where we have the system available, and you can actually try that out. It's currently available for free right now because it is a beta release, although it has been in beta release for, I guess, close to about a year now. And so we'll be kind of formalizing this. Once we basically launch this as a kind of a release solution, it'll be a pay-per-use model, and it'll be connected with an e-commerce capability so that you can actually use that particular platform. As I say, you can try it for free, and I certainly, if you're interested in just doing the PPK processing, the GNSS only processing, give it a try. And it's available for free, as I say. Okay, some of the benefits of Applanix PPK. No perpetual license is required to purchase. It is a pay-per-use model, so you basically just pay for what you use on either a monthly or annual basis. And some of the key advantages is that there's no upfront cost to this, so you can, when you're ready to use it, you can access it. There's no desktop software required. It reduces the effort in field, so you don't need to, or you can reduce the number of GCPs or eliminate those with the solution to a certain degree. And reduce post-work, faster and more precise AT. It supports that as well. And we keep this software updated on an ongoing basis, so it's not something you have to update. We keep it updated, and so new features that are added into POSPac are available through this solution that is basically takes some of our capability, the PPK processing capability, and makes that available on the web. And if you would like to learn more about this, we did a really great webinar on this on September 8th, just a few weeks back. And I would encourage you to again go to our webinar center, and you'll find this particular webinar, and it goes through the Applanix PPK solution in great detail. So much better than maybe I've done here, but certainly you can get all of that information in a single comprehensive webinar, and it'll walk you through in terms of how that all works. Add-on tools, which is another important piece. So the one add-on tool we support right now is our LiDAR QC tools. It provides specifically for LiDAR data, bore sight calibration, trajectory adjustment, as well as it has a last point cloud generator. This is mainly for basically checking the quality of the point cloud data that's coming out of the solutions that we provide, the POSPac solutions. So in addition here, we've just added something new. So this is the first time, certainly, I'm talking about this in a live session. It's our POSPac PPK RTX for UAV. So basically, we've taken the Trimble PPRTX solution, and we've basically extracted what we need from that just for UAV processing. So this is something that's going to be and is currently available on a subscription basis, either a 6-month or 12-month subscription. You can get accuracies approaching RTK accuracies. It's a always on capability. So it's the PPRTX network operates 365 days of the year. It's always on and always receiving data. And it's very, very simple solution to use this, really a one-button click to basically use this particular solution. So that's new. So just where does this all fit in? Where does POSPac all fit into our surveying and mapping solution? So basically, as I mentioned, it is the post-processing back office engine for taking that data, the GNSS data that is captured from either a physical base station, such as our smart target that you see on the screen here in the lower left, or through another correction solution such as Smart Base or the Trimble PPRTX solution. So it takes that correction data as well as the orientation and positioning data from the DG solution that is embedded into the UAV platform, either on the UAV platform itself or on the payload. So, and the board looks something like this, a little picture down here in the center of the screen. This is our APX15 board for UAVs. It is an integrated GNSS IMU board. We have different flavors of this for different type of applications and requirements, such as inspections or corridor mapping, such as transmission line or pipeline monitoring, etc. So it takes that data, the GNSS and INS data, and along with the correction data and the imagery, and we process that through the POSPac software. So that's where POSPac fits into the overall architecture of the solution. POSPac produces either an exterior orientation file or the smooth best estimate trajectory file. And with the LiDAR QC tools, it can produce a LAS file as well. And just to kind of summarize what I was talking about earlier, taking the base station data, the inertial data, the GNSS data, and processing that through our POSPac solutions to generate the output files that you can then take into any number of third-party packages to generate your information products. So that could be something like UAS Master, as I've mentioned, or any number of third-party products, because we provide that kind of open standard handshake methodology to take that data into those solutions and be able to process that. Sorry, let me just go in the right direction here. So if you want to learn more about POSPac training, we do have a great webinar, again, in our webinar center on that. It'll take you through how POSPac operates. It'll take you through how you validate your data, how you process your data. So if you're interested in learning more about how POSPac works, I'd encourage you to, again, to go to our webinar center, and you'll find some great information there. So let's turn to licensing options. So we have a number of licensing options. So we certainly support the traditional perpetual licenses with our POSPac MMS software and POSPac UAV. That's available. Term licensing is something new for us. So over the last number of months, we've been bringing in to play term licenses. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Typically, the term licenses are set for 1 year, but in some cases it could be 6 months. And then we have our subscription services offerings, such as our POSPac UAV cloud services or our Applanix PPK services. So I've just got a little table here which kind of nicely summarizes all of this for us. So POSPac MMS, and as I mentioned before, the mobile mapping system kind of supports all of our industries such as marine, land, and air, and it's available with perpetual licensing and now term licensing. POSPac UAV is available with perpetual licensing and term licensing now. The POSPac Cloud UAV product, as I say, is geared towards those OEM partners, again, UAV manufacturers, sensor manufacturers, or system integrators, and it's available as a subscription service from those OEM partners. POSPac UAV command line is available with all of our products, and Applanix PPK, which is currently in beta trial, which you can try for free, will be available. It's free now, but it'll be available later on a subscription licensing basis. The LiDAR QC Tools add-on module is available as a perpetual or a term license. And the very latest addition to our suite of UAV processing capabilities, POSPac PPRTX for UAV, is available on a subscription license basis, either 6 months or 12 months. So on that note, and I'm just a little bit over the 20-minute estimate time, we can now go to our Q&A, and we'll take a few questions before we wrap this up. I always like to keep this series of webinars to about 30 minutes so as not to take too much of your time, but to also kind of provide a brief encapsulated overview of the topic that we're talking about. In this case today, POSPac, different options of POSPac that we have for the different industries and for the UAV segment that we support. So if you do have questions, please open the question box. You'll find that in the command tab. And if you enter your questions there, we'll basically go through and do the best we can to answer the questions for you today. If we can't answer them today, we'll certainly take them down and get back to you with an answer. So on that note, I just want to turn to my colleague River and just see, River, do we have any questions today?
Hi, Brad, thanks. Yeah, we have a couple questions here. I'll just get right into it. The first one that we have is, what's the actual difference between MMS and UAV? Does the UAV have just a subset of functionality of the MMS?
Yes.
So to answer this question, I can answer that, Brad.
Sure, please.
So MMS is able to process data from all Applanix hardware. So that includes our POS systems, AP, AP+, and APX boards. For POSPac UAV, it can only process data from the APX hardware. That's the main difference between the two. They also have different licensing modules. So you will need to have a UAV license to use POSPac UAV and an MMS license to use POSPac MMS. The next question here I have is, can you please tell me where I can read more about LiDAR bore sight calibration? We recently did release a new Applanix support site. If you go to that support site, you can just search up LiDAR bore sight calibration, and you'll probably get a few hits on some tech notes that have more information about LiDAR bore sight for APX.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Any other
Um,
questions?
yes, we have question. Hold on, I'm just going through it here. Does POSPac PPK apply to airborne LiDAR also? So Brad, do you want to answer this or do you want me to answer this?
Go ahead, River.
Okay, so Applanix PPK is to be used with non-Applanix hardware. So one of the main hardwares that are used with Applanix PPK are DJI drones. So for that, you will just need your base station files and the RINEX file that you get from the DJI drone. So you wouldn't use any LiDAR data with the Applanix PPK. Let's see here. I do have a question asking about the outputs from Applanix PPK. I will respond to that person directly.
Okay,
Um,
that sounds good.
oh, so someone's asking about which website it is for our support site. So if you go to applanix.com/support, you will have to press the login button, and that will direct you to the Applanix support hub. And if you have an account that already existed with our old support site, you will not be able to use that account. You will have to register for a brand new account. Once you do that, you'll be able to access the Applanix Support Hub. And this new site is basically a library of tech notes, manuals, and there's also a section on discussions, sort of like a forum where you can ask questions, and someone from our support team will be able to answer your questions there.
Awesome.
A lot of questions are coming in now one at a time, so I'm just going through them here.
Okay. Okay. Well, we have time for a few more, so
Yep.
we'll take a few more.
There are some questions regarding pricing from upgrading. So those who are asking questions about pricing, Brad will be reaching out to you directly on that.
Yes, just on that. So you can, if you have questions regarding pricing, and we do have, there's different options for pricing. So I don't want to get into taking too much time to go over that now. But if you basically either send an email to either sales@applanix.com or myself, B Schmidt, BSCHMIDT @applanix.com. Either of those emails, we would be basically happy to answer that and get you that pricing information.
Okay, and just a few more questions here. Can you speak a bit about batch processing of the trajectory in POSPac UAV? So for batch processing, this remains the same between MMS and UAV. We do have a batch processing manual that's available online. I will respond to you directly to provide you the link for that batch manual. Another question here, do I need a dedicated license to use Applanix Smart Base Station data for post-processing in POSPac? So this is another difference between POSPac MMS and UAV. POSPac UAV only comes with single base processing as its base license. So if you would like to use the smart base processing, you will have to purchase a separate upgrade for your license for smart base specifically. We have another question here asking, do you have any resources for interpreting and understanding the reports generated by POSPac? So again, you can find some tech notes and information on our support site on how to interpret the plots and reports generated by POSPac. And another question here we have, can POSPac UAV software be used with other drones? So for POSPac UAV software, you can only use Applanix hardware with that. So that will be any of our APX systems. I think that's about it, Brad.
Awesome. Well, you've actually taken us pretty much right up to our 11:30 cutoff point. Thank you very much, River, for answering those questions. I really appreciate that. Very insightful answers there. So hopefully that's kind of answered those queries that you may have had. But as I say, certainly if you have any further questions, certainly shoot those over to sales@applanix.com or myself at bschmidt@applanix.com. We'll be happy to answer those. And I certainly thank you today for taking the time to be with us and to go through this POSPac overview and presentation on the different modules and the licensing of those different modules. And as I say, we're certainly happy to support your requirements. And if you have questions on this or any other matters related to POSPac or our airborne or UAV survey and mapping industries and product portfolio, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us. And once again, I thank you for joining us from wherever you may have been. It may be morning, afternoon, or evening. We certainly appreciate the time that you've spent with us today. And I wish you the best of the rest of your days, and we'll say goodbye. And until next time with our next presentation, I'll bid you adieu. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.